Episode 87 here. Got another special guest that I'll let Austin introduce. But first and foremost, co-host of Clocking the Podcast here, Marshall Hamilton.
Co-host Austin Hamilton. And as Marshall alluded to, we got a very, very special guest, man. First off, I got to call him champ. We won a championship together back in 2011 at Herndon High School. And it's been dope, man, because I've seen his path, as an athlete and to now an entrepreneur, and all the success that he's had. No surprise. I've seen the work that he's done and continues to do. But most importantly, I mean, he has the right heart and the right intention, man. So, my brother, man, Ashkan, Naderi, good to have you, bro.
Thank you so much, Austin. I appreciate the intro. I'm very excited, coming on here. Early on, you guys have done, just going back into how you guys began this podcast, right? It was during COVID. I never had a chance to, say what a great job you guys have done. I'm sure now that you guys are in episode 87, I think he said, from where you guys are now, from where you started, I think you guys have made leaps and bounds and, great strides. So very proud of you guys. I think you guys helped a lot of people through COVID. You guys did start like the movement. So I think it's pretty special to see how far you two have come with this. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, appreciate that. And one of the reasons he's on here, as Austin alluded to, excuse me, is he embodies the clock in lifestyle, right? Since I've known him in a lot of different ways. And we'll get into the story, but before we get into all of that, man, unfortunately, I'm on this podcast with two LeBron fans. It's very rare that I go into a podcast dreading.
Can I ask you this though? Are you a Lakers fan?
Me,
I'm asking Marshall.
I'm a Lakers fan.
Okay, all right, that's it. That's all I need.
I'm a Lakers fan.
That's all I need to know. You sound like a Kobe fan, but that's not the here.
I'm a Lakers fan first, then I'm a Kobe fan. But yeah, man, this is tough for me, because I deal with this guy Austin on a regular basis, and Ashkan's actually probably a bigger LeBron fan than Austin. But all right, let's get into a clock in or clock out. So having Ashkan here, we felt like this would be appropriate. So for those who follow NBA sports in general, you guys have seen the debacle of the Los Angeles Lakers. As an objective basketball fan, none of the Lakers' woes are on LeBron, right? Like, he's done his part from day one. Can't blame him, but there is a guy named Russell Westbrook that a lot of people are blaming. So based off how the season is going, and the way LeBron is, do you clock in or clock out that he should ask for a trade before the deadline?
I will say I'm clocked out on that. I think that he belongs in Los Angeles. I personally think that who they have in the front office right now, they're not basketball savants, right? Like, they don't have the basketball mindset. Like, so Magic Johnson, when he left, would you consider Rob Pelinka, like, he did his job, they won one championship? I personally don't even think that the Lakers would have won the championship if it weren't for the bubble. That's personally what I think. I think when you have that environment, it's all basketball, right? But I think that in a normal season, there's a lot of other things that go into you having to win a championship. So I say all that to say, I think the front office of the Lakers have done a terrible job. I think when you have Kurt Rambis, in your, in the front office as part of that franchise,
Stephen A.
I still don't know what Kurt Rambis's role is. I just don't know, but it seems like he's a heavy influencer, right? But I think Rob Pelinka, he did his job to win one championship, but he hasn't done anything since. They haven't done a great job of putting together the right team. If you really look at it, they just beefed up on point guards, but it's the same team as last year. Like it honestly is, right?
They just got younger. That's it.
They just got younger. You beefed up on point guards, but you still got Westbrook. Send him to the Pacers already. Give up the draft picks. And I think you either win now, and it's just so sad to see, guys, because like they're wasting LeBron's time. Like they're wasting valuable years. Some think that he's still in his prime, right? He's sure playing like it, but I think they're wasting his time. But I honestly think for LeBron, he's about to pass Kareem, so it's going to mean a lot for him to do it in a Laker uniform, right? So I think that's big for him, and I don't think that he should for that aspect. But I also think he's played for 4 teams now? Or what? He's played for the Lakers, he's played for the Cavs, he's played for the Heat, right?
Yeah, three teams.
Yeah, and I just don't see him where he is in his legacy and how old he is and what he's done to go elsewhere. I mean, I just don't really see it. And I think that if they did the right job of putting shooters around him, they would be in a decent spot. They don't have a bad team on paper. It's just collectively right now on the court, man, it's just a whole bunch of bricks.
A lot of
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said, Ashkan. And it's no disrespect to Russ and his accomplishment, him as a player. It's just not a good fit, man. Like he has to have the ball in his hand. He has to be the lead dog. And when you can't shoot the ball at a high level playing with LeBron, especially at the point guard spot, it's not going to work. And, yeah, I agree because LeBron probably has, 2 more years of like, I don't even want to say, him physically. I just think mentally, he probably has like 2 more years. So I'd love to see him get his 5th championship. But yeah, they got to make some moves now because, that's kind of what happens when LeBron is on the team, man. You're in a win now situation. He's been vocal about that. He said he's addicted to it. So what they got now, I don't know if they can beat the goods, Marshall.
Yeah, they may lose the Elks for real. We're going 2-3 zone.
Who you guarding now?
LeBron, absolutely LeBron. Definitely guarding LeBron.
How you gonna guard him?
I'm forcing him left, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for him to do one of these.
Oh, he sets everybody up.
Yo, he be killing people.
I'm waiting for him to look at his hand. I'm on. Give me that. And then my shot's getting sent on the fast break layup, but you already know. I did want to bring up one more thing in relation to what Ashkan said. Again, I agree with everything he said, but I think there's a missing point that people don't really bring up when it comes to this whole situation. Russell Westbrook needs shooters too, right? When people talk about the fit, they're like, well, LeBron needs shooters. I 100% agree. You look at all his teams, he has one other guy we can give the ball to and say, go get a bucket. He has 2 guys who can catch and shoot, and he has 1 hustle guy. That's the formula for LeBron's teams. But if you look at teams that Russ has played on, he needs guys who can spread the floor because it opens up the lane, right? Like LeBron isn't a catch and shoot guy, even though he can shoot. AD is hit or miss. So they can just literally pack the lane, well, as much as they can without getting defense in 3 seconds, pack the lane and make Russ jack shots. So like he needs to go somewhere where there's shooters.
Exactly. It ain't his team, like you said. It's like we've been saying, it's LeBron's team. So he has to fit into LeBron and what his, what that LeBron system looks like. And he's not a good fit for that.
Now, what I don't condone is his attitude,
Westbrook?
Yeah. Like there's a certain, like Magic Johnson said it right. If you play a bad game, just say I had a bad game.
Didn't win.
He had 0 points. He was 0 for 11. they're like,
Yeah,
"How'd
he's
you
like
think you played
solid. I
today?"
played hard.
Yeah, solid, play hard, play good
So
defense.
so for me is like, I absolutely agree with you, Marshall, in the sense that, he said that what he was doing in the pregame routine is something that he's always done. But dude, when you play in Los Angeles, and I think they were talking about it on like First Take or something, when you're playing in Los Angeles, it's not about I anymore. It's about we. Like the lights are on, man. You're playing for a lucrative franchise. Like all that I stuff, when you're the third best player now on the team, like you got to be able to look past that. What you used to do, and again, unfortunately, some guys, in the league don't feel that and don't buy that. And that's why I like college basketball a lot, because there's no I, it's we. And
Right.
so going back to Russ in LA, like you got to be able to put that aside. And when your guys are in the huddle, just imagine that, Austin. Can you imagine that if we were in the huddle and somebody chose to do what they wanted to do? Coach was like, get over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like, it just doesn't make sense to me, man. And his attitude is like he's almost like trying to put it off. And I would be more okay with him just embracing his struggle so that the crowd and the media and everybody else is less abrasive towards him. Because every time he shoots the ball, you can hear it in the crowd. You can hear it in their body reactions. I mean, people are just like, oh God, like what is he going to do next?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he
walking on eggshells.
right. If you look at his career, like I think he kind of thrives on being, talked about negatively. Like when he came out of high school, he wasn't a high recruit. When he came to the league, they're like, it's not going to work. So I just think that he thrives on that. But at some point, you're going to have to change what motivates you, and again take ownership. But while we're on the topic, I know you mentioned kind of what would happen. Excuse me, what would happen back when you guys played. So I thought a good transition would be just to talk about your basketball journey, man. I mean, we know how the Herndon basketball tradition has been around for years, and now it's not what it used to be. But from your perspective, man, I'd love to kind of hear your journey, because I really only know about like high school, right? And we met you like clocking in, like for no pun intended, like we were at Worldgate, and we'd be up there getting shots up, and then you'd be up there on your own or with your dad, and then shout out to Try, started working with you, and and we saw the trajectory from like a 5'3" freshman to
I think you're being generous, Marshall. I think it was more like 4'11".
yeah, you're a pretty small dude. So yeah, dude, let's talk about that, man, and kind of going into how you kind of got your love for the game started, and then how that kind of led into your high school career.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're also forgetting the Herndon Community Center, but we can touch on that, because
Oh
that's where I really
yeah,
started to meet you
That's
and,
one of the first
everybody that used to, I used to get
I
really,
forgot about that.
yeah, I used to get, oh, I didn't, because I used to be there super early, and then y'all came with a crowd and used to kick me off the court because I was just too small. Remember that? I don't forget that.
Yeah, okay. That's after school. Yeah, I remember that.
I'm just kidding, man. Listen, so my love for the game honestly began on my own. Like you guys had, you are part of five brothers, right? So like you guys competitive as can be, you guys, grew up playing basketball. It's in your family, you know what I mean? So it's easy for you guys to have picked it up, as opposed to me. But my love for the game really started on my own. And at a very young age, I could always shoot the ball. It wasn't always the correct form and it wasn't the right, technique and mechanics, but man, for some reason I could just shoot the ball. And so I, grew up playing house league. And from there, I really began to see how competitive basketball is in the town of Herndon. When I went to junior high, when I went to Herndon Middle and saw the after school rec, right, and the competition that would come with it, I really saw like, wow, these guys can hoop. And I, at that time, I mean, I was small, man, super small. But I still had I had the IQ for the game and I could shoot. So just trying to build on that really helped me. And I think just at a very young age, I don't know why I was the way I was, or I am the way I am, I should say. I just always worked hard. I don't really know what gets me out of bed every morning, but I have this fire under my butt to like that I can't, you won't outwork me. I guess I should say. And so that really carried me through. And then, I think it was the sophomore year of high school is when I really started, hanging out with Cliff, and he would, help me with explosive performance. And that's when I really turned it up a level. Of course I was playing JV at the time, but then obviously, we would work out Austin, and then, sometimes Scotty would come around, and guys like Earl Robinson, those folks really, it was honestly a collective effort. But the one thing that I'm proud of is I would always ask, right? Who's getting better? Can I get close to those guys? And some people saw it weird, me, being around, guys like Earl and Scotty so much. But look, man, if I could pick those guys' brain, if I could pick up a few things, so be it, right? And so I thrive on that, right? Like wherever productivity is going around, I want to be able to like glue myself to that. And so that really carried me. And then junior year is when obviously I played varsity. And so Austin, I always think about this, man. And there's a lot of things going on for me personally around high school, right? And a lot of that was the pressure that my dad would put on me. And to be honest with you, I would always think about like, we had such a great team that junior year. But if I would just do my part, like if I were actually able to play at the level that I knew I could and average 6 to 8 points a game, where that could put us, right? Like just come in the game and hit two threes and just bring the energy, bring the spark off the bench. I don't like to live in the past, but I always think like if I could just play the way I knew how to play. And, because for me, when I would get in the games, guys, it was everything except for basketball. Like my mind was, hell, it was like 100 miles a minute, man, 100 miles a second. Like there was so much pressure that my dad would put on me that, to be honest, I don't want to blame it all on that, but that had a lot to do with, my performance in high school. And so just stopping there, but also taking it to the next step where I actually, graduated high school, but then went away for college basketball. I think that was the best thing for me, only because I was able to refine myself, right? Everybody knew I would play scared in the games. Everybody knew I had the potential, but something was wrong. And for me to get away from everything and go to a place like Pennsylvania where nobody knew me and just kind of hit the reset button, that's where I think, that confidence right there was all I needed.
Yeah, and just to go back, Ashkan, all that stuff as far as your confidence and the anxiety I think you had, like I knew that coming in, but I also knew you were the hardest worker on the team. You could shoot the crap out of the ball. And when I tell you, like, you had me, John B, and yourself, and you were the best shooter out of all three or two of us.
Dude, so Austin, that is very interesting you say that. Till this day, I confidently know behind you, I think I was the second most skilled person on the team. Dribbling, passing, shooting. I truly think I was the second over John B, even over John B. Like look, John B, clutch shooter, but like, again, I personally think that I was the second best if you were to take all those three together on that team.
Yeah. And I totally agree. But dude, like I have to, it's just funny how God works. Cleaning up my room or whatever, and I come across that Oakton game, semifinal game, the DVD.
I had like 12, 13 points that game, I think.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at, man. Like, your journey was obviously wasn't the smoothest, but I knew at some point, like I would always tell coach, and I can't remember if I even said like, hey, I think I did, man. I think I told him like put Ashkan in. And you come out that joint, you hit like 3 or 4 threes. And no lie, Marshall, because we were, I don't know if we were losing. I think we were losing at one
We
point.
were losing. It was just a slow game. It
Yeah,
was
it
like
was slow.
5 p.m.
Didn't
Yeah.
they play zone?
They always played zone,
Yeah,
like a matchup type zone.
They were cold, right? Like we had no momentum and like we were the better team, but they just iced us.
Yeah. And we needed a spark. And sure enough, man, like I don't even know if Ashkan was on a scouting report for these other teams, for real. Ashkan comes in, bang, bang. It's like 3 or 4 threes. And that really propelled not only that game, but also just it got us to where we needed to be, and that was the championship. So I'll never forget that, man. Like you played an integral part to that championship run, and like people don't understand, and you're a testament to this. To not really play throughout the season, but be ready when your number is called, like that just kind of shows who you are as a player, but most importantly, your character.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why that team was so good was we had some high character guys, and we knew we just wanted to win, man. Like there wasn't anybody that was in it for themselves. We wanted to win, and we got along too. Although we may have called you some names, and if
So
the stuff that
Marshall,
we were the stuff that we would say now, we would have got canceled, and our season probably would have got canceled if we would have
just
got.
off the record, Marshall.
Yeah.
I probably washed my jersey probably twice the whole year. Like
The practice jersey.
It was so bad, Marshall, that I would hang my jersey up. I would come back and it would. So if you took it off of the rack,
It was
would
like a
still
Dorito.
stay. Like I
like
would
a
hold
Dorito.
it at the
Yeah.
very bottom.
Shout out to Chris Hightower. But Chris Hightower's jersey was the exact same way.
Bro, I would hold it at the
They would
bottom.
sword fight with them joints.
Yo, I would hold it at the bottom and it would stay up, like
Oh.
pointing. And so like this thing came around. Who's the stinkiest on the team? Oh, Ashkan. Like, so hey, I embraced that, man. It was all part of the love, part of the
It
jokes,
was.
but
You're a good
all
sport
fun and
about
games,
it.
man.
I did want to say a couple of things, man, because man, Ashkan's journey is like, now that I'm like thinking about it and we're talking through it, it was very similar to mine. Like I was like 5'2" as a freshman. Same thing, man. Had a lot of anxiety on the court for different reasons. I didn't really get like my shot until my senior year, and kind of like Austin said, you know, I was ready because of the work, right? But I did want to say something that you did that I didn't, that, you know, people who are listening, especially, we're really players of all levels, or not even just in sports, man, in life, they all can learn from. He knew exactly what he needed to do when he got in the game. He knew exactly what he needed to do. He knew exactly what his role was. Even though he thought, I'm the second or third most skilled player on the team, and it wasn't a team that was trash, right? Like there were good players on that team. He didn't go in like, I'm gonna try to prove that I'm the second or third best player on the team. That's where a lot of you mess up. He came in and said, if I could get 6 to 8 points, what is it going to do? It's going to help the team win. It's going to help the team win. And man, I'm a believer because I saw it with my journey, and obviously with yours, and you're going to talk about it, that mindset is why you were able to get to where you got to in college, because it really doesn't make sense that you got to college.
No,
like it doesn't make
I have no idea how I ended up playing D2. Like that was just like, what?
It doesn't make any sense. And then the last thing I wanted to say before we talk about your college career is he was not afraid to be annoying, right? Like Scotty for those who don't know, when we say Scotty Reynolds, the best player in our school's history, McDonald's All-American, college All-American, you know,
Still playing
professionally. One of the best college basketball players of all time, one of the best players in the state of Virginia of all time.
Villanova.
And I would see Ashkan like asking Scotty questions and asking Arrow questions. And if you know Scotty isn't the type who's gonna embrace all of that.
He's
right?
not.
And I know, but here's what I do know. Ashkan worked his butt off. I know Scotty respected that. And he knew, like, all right, this kid isn't just trying to come at me because I'm Scotty and he's just trying to kiss my butt. Like, he's actually trying to learn. So, because it was always interesting, like, how is he like really close with Scotty? It didn't make any sense,
Dude, I mean, to a point.
Wait, hold on. Can you talk about like how did that relationship even commence?
Dude, to be honest with you, I don't know. It was just something that happened so quickly. I think that, I mean, I honestly don't even know. Like, I'm trying to really think.
I would imagine Cliff played a part.
Cliff definitely played a part, but I think that, like, one, right? Why Scotty invited me to begin working out was because I can shoot, right? So even if we did spot shooting, right? We all know here that we've all been paired up with somebody that really can't shoot in spot shooting, and it's like you doing wind sprints, right? You're just rebounding the ball. It's just unproductive. So I think Scotty being able to be like, hey, look, I have an opportunity to not only get some work in myself, but also bring somebody along that wants to work, right? That can keep up, that can make shots, that we can keep, get a sweat going. I think that's what made it possible. Like, I think if I couldn't shoot, I think it would be like, hey, I can invite you to open gyms, but I ain't going to invite you to work out constantly, right? Yeah. So I think that's where it started, but I really don't know where I met him and how it just came along. I think it just was at Worldgate, to be honest with you, when we would have those times where it was like Cam would come, right? Cam would come in and sign up all his guys, and then Scotty would come up and sign. I think I just was probably paired with somebody on that team, and it was just took off.
I mean, you're right, guys. Like, again, this is not just a basketball thing. I mean, you're one relationship away, and if Ashkan doesn't work, to the point where he can show, he could show that, hey, I can shoot, then Scotty never would have probably invited him to that workout. And I know you learned a ton from him, and just being exposed to someone who is as good as he was. And again, Scotty, to this day, hardest worker I've ever seen. So yeah, man, I did want to touch on that because I think it's an important lesson for people listening in. So let's talk about your college career, man. And kind of how did you even get to your first school?
Wait, hold on.
We'll talk about your senior year.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, what happened your senior year?
Was that when Will Ferguson came?
Yeah, man. Oh, so I actually forgot all about that. So yes. And shout out to that team. I think that my junior year, how it ended and where I saw myself the next year was really like, hey, I was going to be a key part of the next year's team, my senior year. And so, man, I mean, for that first half of the year, guys, my confidence was starting to build, right? I was playing ball with Scotty. I was working out. I was getting stronger. I had a little bit of a growth spurt, but I was really coming to form. And I think that what ended up happening was Will came, right? And, shout out to Will. There's no knock there. For some reason, I was excited about Will coming because if anything, dribble, drive, dish. I mean, that was my bread and butter. I could sit in the corner. All the attention was going to be on a Will and a Dorian, and I was going to get all the threes in the world. For some reason, I mean, I was averaging maybe 10, 11, 12 points a game, which at that time was amazing for me coming off the year that I had my junior year. I mean, the whole year total. But all my minutes just dropped. It was like, I mean, my play didn't change. It was just all of a sudden, all my minutes went away. And I just was confused why. So my senior year, I had a great first half. Unfortunately, I had a bad second half only because, well, not bad, but I just didn't play. And so I just didn't understand really why. Because, I mean, I would complement Will's game perfectly. So
We'll have to ask Waylon what his thought process was.
oh, so quick funny story.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna say I know you.
We gotta have a Wheeling story on here.
I know you have.
so actually this is a Coach
I
Hall
have
story.
some. I have some. I don't.
And I know 90% probably can't be shared on
That's
here.
what I'm gonna say. Waylon might get canceled. So
Yeah. So Coach Hall, we were at Hayfield Secondary School.
I forgot Coach Hall and staff.
Yeah, so Hayfield Secondary School, we should have crushed that team from the jump, but we had a really bad first half. And so we get in the locker room and it's quiet, right? We all know how it is. Coach Hall comes in, he's not happy. Coach Wheelan comes in, he's not happy. There was a clipboard that Coach Hall had in his hand, and he tried to, I think he tried to break it out of frustration just to show like, hey, I need y'all to get fired up because I'm going to do this and it's going to propel us to the second half. He couldn't break it. So he snapped on his knee once. It wouldn't break. Tried it again. And then he just dropped a big F-bomb and just chucked the clipboard my way. And I'm not talking about like a float because it's a clipboard. I'm talking about hold it at one end and fling it across, and it hit me right in the shin. And that's the worst spot to hit somebody at because it's straight bone. And I'll never forget it, man. I was like, dude, what was that about? I mean, we've all had those moments where we've had, a bad encounter, but it was just funny. But then he came back afterwards, like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do that. I'm like, well, shit. Like, I'm glad that you didn't, you know what I mean? So but it's all jokes now, man. So.
No, that's hilarious, man. Like I said, Waylon, he definitely had some words for you, throughout practices.
Oh my God. Yeah, I actually know what you're talking about, Austin.
Yeah.
You saying that, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've told that story countless times, man. And it's still one of the funniest Waylon stories that I have in my bank. But no, I think as Marshall was going to get into, you have that senior year and didn't go as planned as you wanted it to. Can you talk about, I guess, that off season and what led you to, I guess, how did that recruiting process start? Like, were you sending film? What was that like? And then how did you end up where you ended up?
I'm sure you guys both know the name Brett Edney, and he used to be an explosive performance trainer right next to Cliff, right? So like he was the tall white guy that would also trade. Brett Edney went to Penn State Hazleton, and he had the same story as I did. He shined the first 2 years and then transferred to a college by the name of East Stroudsburg, which is also D2. It's the same conference as Bloomsburg, which I eventually transferred to. So senior year comes around. He's like, man, you're like super skilled. I know you're not playing because I'm hearing these guys talking about it when they run. I know Jeff Rush, who's the Penn State Hazleton head coach. Why don't I reach out to him and just give you a shot? Like I want to help you. I would hate for you not to play college basketball. I see how much time you're putting in. I've trained you myself, so on and so forth. Said, dude, why not? Right? Just go ahead. Because I knew like I wanted to play, like I wanted to continue playing. And for those that are tuned in, if there's any, I want you guys to be in a position where you give it your all, right? Like I don't want you guys to end your high school careers and not think like, man, I wish that I had, or I gave a little bit more energy, right? So like, that's how I felt. I was like, man, I have all this skill and I didn't really get to show it. So I was like, sure, put the word in. And then all of a sudden, like they reached out to me and I scrapped, I think like 5-6 minutes of game film that I had my senior year, and I put it together, man. And God willing, they invited me to, drive up there, and man, it was in the boonies, and I don't know what I was doing, man, but just being able to get away, guys. I mean, it was the best thing for me. I think that it gave me all the confidence in the world that I can do this. And sure enough, my freshman year, I averaged 16 and 6. I shot, I think, just under 40% from 3-point line. I was second team all conference. man, I mean, I was putting it on guys. Like I was going in there. One game I had 9 threes in the first half, like unguardable, man. And we were playing some. I mean, we weren't playing scrubs, man. We were playing some good schools in Pennsylvania, D3 schools in Pennsylvania, and so um, that happened. And then my sophomore year, I kind of duplicated the same stats and results.
Was Penn State Hazleton? Was that a JUCO?
What? No, that was a Division III college.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. My freshman year, we ended up playing Bloomsburg in a exhibition game. That's like a tradition.
Yeah.
So we have never gotten as close as we did my freshman year ever. And I watched those guys warm up across from me, and all they were is size. And I actually looked to my teammate. I said, "We got them tonight." Like just seeing those dudes dribble the ball, like these guys can't even dribble. So just seeing the type of swagger, I mean, we all know it, right? I mean, we've all been around basketball. As soon as somebody dribbles a basketball, if they can play or not, right? Just the way they carry themselves. And I was watching these guys dribble. I'm like, oh no, they're in trouble tonight. So we actually took it to them, and I could hear their coach through the wall at halftime just screaming at them. We were up by like 4 points. We ended up losing the game by 1 point. It was the closest that we've ever gotten. But from that, here's what I did. Just being able to know that we had a good game, and I had a big part to do because they pressed the whole time. I reached out to Bloomsburg's head coach. I went on Google and I just Googled his name, and I reached out to him, emailed him, didn't get a response, emailed him again, didn't get a response, played them our sophomore year. And I killed him again, emailed him a third time, then he responded. And so fast forward, it's so crazy because I'm not one to really talk about myself or blow my own horn, but my relentlessness and, just not being able to take no for an answer, I think really got me to where I was. And again, the proof is in the pudding. My game spoke for itself, but because I had a very unconventional route, I did unconventional things. And so he answered my email after that, progressed some conversation, went out there in open gym, did very well, and then, took off from there. So graduated from Bloomsburg, and yeah, exciting stuff.
A lot of nuggets there, man. I think the foundation that I've seen with you is that a lot of, like, when I say a lot, I'm talking about like NBA players to this day, they don't love the game. And you really embody the love for the game because, like you said, man, like you didn't have an illustrious high school career, right? Like you could have been, look, I played varsity, I got a couple buckets. I'm good, man. I'll go to school and just party. But you knew, and this is another thing, you knew your ability, you knew what you were capable of, and you bet on yourself, man. And for you to do what you did at Penn State, Hazleton, and put in the work there, but then, like you said, man, that relentlessness to reach out to this coach, because I know you, man, like when you have your mind on something, like you're gonna get it. And for you, it was to play at that level, but most importantly, you knew you could do it, and you trusted your ability. So a lot of nuggets there, man. I hope a lot of athletes tap into that because it's just a testament to you trusting the work, and staying diligent, to your goals and how you want to achieve them, man. So that's big time stuff.
Yeah, and I remember his run his freshman year. And again, I've seen Ashkan since he was probably like 7th grade. And I saw the work. But even I was like, he's killing right now. Like he's killing right now.
But I'm saying, Marshall, here's the thing, like I always knew like he could go because
same
open gym, like he would
I was killing everybody, bro.
I would pick him up because I'm like, yo, like, nah,
dude, I know how to play. I played the game the right way.
Yeah, exactly. He had a high IQ.
But to like he didn't pass the eye test. You know, you were still small. You didn't have the lineup that you have now, so that might have played a
Shout
part.
out to Try. Shout out to Try. Hold up. That changed my life. I think junior year, going into junior year, we were going to Orlando, Florida for AAU.
Wait, what?
He was like, you know what? This childish look ain't cutting it. And I was like, what do you mean? And bro, he cut my hair off, man. Like, I think he used a
Wait,
two.
Try cut it?
Yeah, Try cut it at Worldgate, bro. At Worldgate, in the Worldgate locker room, bro. Dude, in high school, by the way, full disclosure, I didn't pay for a single haircut. Try would hook it up every Saturday, bro. My shit was looking crispy.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
So, I mean, amazing, man. So, yeah, but Try was like, you know what? Enough with this childish look. Like, and but as soon as he cut it, I was like, man, like, I don't know how I feel about this. But then it just grew on me after a long
got
time.
a
Anyways,
couple-
it's a random story.
You got a couple of numbers off the haircut?
Hey, chill, man. Hit the shoulder on him.
So Austin brought up the eye test, right? And I wanted to bring this up. You know, you come from a country that doesn't typically, you know, produce a ton of basketball players to the level that you got, right? You know, he's from Iran, or his parents, you know, were from Iran, and you were born here, if I remember correctly.
No,
right?
I was actually born there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, wow. So he came like to this
Fresh
country
off the boat.
born fat. Can you, when you were in high school and in college, did you kind of think about like, hey, that, you know, I'm kind of trying to carry this torch for my country and the people who look like me? Was that something you were thinking about, or were you just hooping and then, you know, maybe later on you thought, man, like, you know, I'm really representing a small group of people that play college basketball, that come from where I come from, or even play varsity basketball? You know?
I don't think, yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't think for me it was that big. For me, it was more so I've always felt the need to, because I have parents that were immigrants that came here, I've always felt the need to do something with my life, right? Like, and not, I don't want to waste their time. Like, they came here, sacrificed a lot. So at a minimum, I have to do something with my life. And I think for me, when I was playing basketball, I had a goal, right? I was going to graduate college. I was going to go overseas, and I was going to use Iran as a platform to potentially play in some other countries and build a solid career for myself, right? And so I was very tunnel vision on that. I was set in my ways. I didn't even have a plan B.
Yeah, I mean, that's most hoopers, man. It doesn't matter which level you're at. It's funny, you know, we had Coach Patty Medina on last week, who coached girls basketball. She played basketball, and we were joking about the difference between men's basketball players at any level versus, you know, women's basketball players. If you go to college as a men's basketball player, you think you're going to pro. It doesn't matter what level it is. Women's side, they're not really thinking about that. So that actually is a good segue into what I wanted to ask you about, which is how did you transition, man, out of your college basketball career into the real world? Because one of the things that I see and that I'm really, I quite honestly, I'm passionate about is like helping athletes, whether they just finished playing pro, college, high school, figure out what to do, man. Because our identity is so wrapped up into that once it stops, you know, a lot of people are lost, man, and they don't, and a lot of them choose the wrong direction to go. So can you talk about that transition from, you know, obviously having a really good college career, doing things that no one expects you to do, to, all right, now, like, I'm not hooping anymore, and now I got to figure out, like, what I'm going to do as an adult?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, man, I mean, you guys knew how I was raised. You guys know the story between, you know, my parents and stuff. And I'm an open book, so it's not, I mean, some see it as personal, but to me, I mean, I don't mind sharing. For me, I had to grow up at a very young age. Like, even in high school, I was almost 4 or 5 years ahead in terms of like my maturity and what I needed to do for my family. Like I was already had those thoughts, and it's probably not healthy for somebody to have those thoughts, right? So for me, when I was sophomore, junior in college, I mean, I was already thinking about what am I going to do to put myself and my family in a position to not struggle anymore. So I was really set in my ways. I thought, Iran was going to be my way. I was going to go back home. And unfortunately, I can go into that detail some other time, but they offered me a contract. It wasn't essentially what I thought I should get. But again, that is the story of my basketball journey. It's unconventional. And so unfortunately, the puck stopped there for me. But for me, I mean, as soon as I graduated college, it was, how do I get me, my mom, and my sister out of the rut that we've always been in? Right. And so because I was already had that mindset, for me, it was simple. Like, go to Iran. And once that didn't work, I came back and I was like, I just have to find a job, right? To start to bring in some income. And, for a lot of people, it's tough, right? I mean, I had the same feelings as an athlete. You put all your eggs in one basket, you get I don't want to say a generic degree, but you get a degree with no real concentration, right? You get a business degree, or you get a psych degree, or you get a communications degree, and you're like, now what? And unfortunately, the college education system really fails everybody. Like, I am on record. It's failed everybody because they don't really teach you about the things that matter in life that hit you square in the chest as soon as you graduate. So though that's just some of my thought processes, I was already years ahead because of the things that I experienced earlier on in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Like, if it wasn't, and I've been on the record to say this, if it wasn't for the opportunities I had with basketball, I don't know if I would have went to college, man. Obviously I'm grateful for the experience, but to your point, it doesn't set you up, um, especially for people that are like-minded like us, that want to do more and want to have ownership. It doesn't set you up that way. It sets you up to get your degree, get a 9 to 5, work for somebody your whole life, retire at 60. And I think that's going to start to change. Like, when our kids get old enough, and we'll see what happens with their own opportunities. I don't see the need, just looking in the future, for them to even have to go to college. So we'll see. But again, man, like, with you, all the stuff that prepared you for, what was to come after basketball. Obviously, it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but you built up that equity of hard work, relentlessness, asking questions, being curious, understanding that I got to fight through adversity. I'm not going to complain. I don't think I've ever heard you complain, like, once. So again, man, it's a testament to your character, and it's no surprise that you're having the success that you're having.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
And one of the things I did want to go back to is how you reached out to that coach from Bloomsburg. Because I'm a sales guy, Austin in sales.
I used to be in sales.
You've been in sales.
I'm a salesman, man. I put my salesman hat on.
Yeah, dog. Like,
Always been.
It takes multiple attempts to get through often, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I love about it, man, is and part of this is because of the way your upbringing and how things played out. You did it, not your dad, not your mom. You didn't have Coach Whelan. Hey, Coach, can you reach out to the coach from Bloomsburg and see? No, you did it. You did it, and I bet, obviously, you cooked them, like, that played a part. But I bet the coach is like, wow, like, this
why
kid,
can't we turn this kid over? Like, why can't we turn the ball over from this guy?
Yeah, no, but I've also bet he was like, man, this is different because it's the opposite of what a lot of players do. Like a lot of players, they complain, they're looking for ways to leave, right? Like, you were persistent and you took ownership over your own journey, right? And we talk about this like now at a young age, training these kids. And basketball, a lot of times, and sports in general, is not their journey, it's their parents' journey. And even though I know kind of what you dealt with your dad, because you love the game and you wanted it, even though he was putting that pressure on you, I believe it was always your journey. It's just that you needed to get away for you to be able to really like flourish. You know what I'm saying? And that's another nugget, man. Like a lot of y'all are in environments where you're comfortable. You have people around you that it may even be the opposite, right? Like they may be pumping up your head too much. And you need to get away, man. Like I think that's for everybody. Like you got to get away from your hometown if you really want to see what you're made of. Like you got to get away and
Like comfort zone.
Yeah, and going to a school in the boonies myself. Like I was going to ask you, how do you feel like that played a part in your success versus going to like a school a school that is in the city, or do you think you would have had the same results, or do you think being in the boonies like helps you really focus?
Well, I mean, classroom wise, like classroom performance, I think it's tremendous. I mean, I had the same classroom size as I did in high school. So it was just like extending 2 more years of, high school. But no, absolutely. I mean, being focused. I mean, I went to a satellite campus, folks. I mean, most students there were commuting to school. Like it was like Nova, right? It was like you going to like a Nova. But for me, I was 400 miles away from home. So no, it for sure helped me, but I think that it didn't play a huge part because I was always the person that, again, I was thinking, all right, after college, what comes next? I mean, I was
Right.
4 years ahead of my actual age in terms of how I thought because of all the struggles that I've gone through. And so I don't think it played a huge part. I think it added to what I already had made up. But yeah, so that's my answer to that question.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on the college basketball part, guys, let's think about this. He transferred up. That's not common. It's very hard to go from Division III to Division II, or Division II to Division I, or a low or a mid major to a high major.
You gotta stand out.
Yeah, like you gotta be different, and that's something that I didn't want to just kind of take lightly. Like he went from D3 to D2, and he contributed. I know some people who they transfer and then they struggle, because they it's a different level, right? So definitely wanted to talk about that. Now, since you have transitioned into the real world, man, obviously you've done well in your jobs and stuff like that, but what we're really excited to hear from you about is as an entrepreneur, kind of what you've been doing on that end, to take care of your family, take care of your future family, for the sake of us still having a sponsor. We just ask that you don't throw out any particular names and stuff like that, but I think it'll be.
Shout out to Arista Real Estate.
Yeah, we forgot to shout out Michael Underwood and our sponsor, Mr. Real Estate.
Pay the bills, Ash.
Yeah, for sure.
I hear you, man.
So yeah, man, talk about like what made you want to get into entrepreneurship, and kind of what that journey's been like the last few years.
Absolutely. So I think basketball played a huge part, just my work ethic and, not staying, content with where you are played a huge part. You had brought up, you and Austin are in sales. I was in sales, but I think life is you need to have that skill set. Like all life is convincing. I say this all the time. I don't care what industry you're in. We're all in the hospitality business. You have an audience, you have a customer, you have to sell, right? That's all life is. And so for me, it transferred perfectly. My first job out of college was in sales. So just being able to have the personality, one, put the work ethic behind it, and then come out of college with the drive that I got to get us out of this dump that we're in. I mean, it just fast tracked the urge to succeed. And for me, again, it doesn't stop here, but for those that don't know, I mean, I saved a ton of money my first couple of years. For those that don't know, I Ubered, I did all the DoorDash, I did all that stuff, right? Putting the pride aside. For those that also don't know, my first year, and my mom's going to kill me for telling this story. For the first year, I kid you not, I slept on my mom's couch for the first year. So that's the type of stuff that I feel like people, one, don't talk about. And I'm not saying this to boast or brag, because it's nothing to boast about, right? But I'm just saying that sometimes to get to where you need to be, you have to be willing to do things you don't want to do. All right. So I did that, saved a ton of money, built on that, and then as that fast tracked, I was able to buy my first house. And then I saw how easy it was. And then I just lost myself in more in, investment books. And I lost myself in YouTube. I mean, just being able to learn and say, why not me? Why can't I accumulate 5 properties, right? Why can't I, accumulate my second property? And from there, just being able to learn. I mean, people that know me know, as soon as I hear real estate, I don't care who you are, I'm going to gravitate towards that conversation. There's so many things to know. You never know who you're going to meet that can be your potential partner. Shout out to Isaac Johnson. You guys were his teammate, right? I unfortunately didn't have the pleasure of playing with Isaac when he was a senior. I was a freshman, but he is very like-minded like me. He and I, own a property together. So it's just, I mean, that's my story, right? It's being able to do things. And it's probably eye-opening because I probably haven't shared the fact that I slept on my mom's couch for an entire year. No bed, right? Because it was just 2 bedrooms. So where was I going to put my bed? All right. So I slept on my mom's couch. It's stuff like that I just, and I'm saying this very humbly, I don't know if people are too good for or what, but like, just put your pride aside, man. Take sacrifices and get to where you want to be.
Man, we live, first of all, excuse me, I gotta get this cough right. It's, I mean, that's such a powerful story, man, because we live in Northern Virginia and it's a very statusy area. It's a very, keep up with the Joneses area. And, a lot of people look at this area and they're like, oh, everyone's doing well. No one struggles. So, I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's eye-opening to hear like there's people struggling everywhere. But to answer what you said around, you don't know why people just won't put their pride aside. I mean, we live in a time where everyone wants to be liked, and everyone wants to put on a facade of success. And the thing is, and again, one of the reasons why we have Ashkan on, and he's nowhere near where he's gonna go, but nothing that he does is a facade, right? Like he's not posting, every little thing that he does that's going well, right? I see him post like, oh, I got another property. And then some FanDuel stuff, and that's about it.
Hey, man, I've been hitting lately.
No, man, it's so cool because everything, just because it's what I've lived, it's relatable to sport. And for you, man, like if you ever think about like everything that has just come together, I feel like basketball is all, like, at least for me, basketball is always like in the center of it.
It's
like,
the core. Yep. It's the
any
core.
I wouldn't be who I
opportunity.
was without basketball, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned Isaac Johnson, who is a former Hornet, all district player. We still play together in this league. And, you didn't even play with Isaac. Obviously, you grew up, with him and Dor. For you guys to be doing business together and being successful at it, like it's so cool, man, because it's just the importance of, the sport, but also the relationships that come with it. I tell parents all the time, like, put your kid into something, sport related, because they're going to learn so much about life and just how it works and, the ups and downs of it. So it's encouraging. It's inspirational, man. Again, keep it up. You're going to continue to inspire people. And I'm glad we're able to get you on, because that story is so powerful, right? Like, I think you may, and you've already had the effect on us, like, given our personal situation, but I think you may encourage someone to be like, you know what, man, like, I don't need that car. I don't need to go to brunch every Sunday. Like, I can chill for a little bit, save some money, take myself personally and my family to the next level. Because it's something that, needs to be done, and it's not talked about enough.
Yeah, I piggyback on that, and I do want to bring up Isaac, man. Isaac will probably never get on this podcast.
He'll never do.
You know,
He just
Isaac,
doesn't
you
have
know
the
how Isaac is.
personality.
Isaac be chilling. He's
Yeah.
not. He's introverted. But you brought up how you guys have a similar mindset, and a lot of people don't know, Isaac's basketball story. Like, he tried out for travel in 7th grade and got cut. And then I think he maybe tried out again in 8th grade, or maybe he just didn't come out for the team. But 9th grade year, he was like our leading scorer. And then I think sophomore year, he was, if not the leading scorer, he was one of them. Isaac worked his butt off. Like, when I tell you, he worked his butt off from freshman to junior year, or really to senior year. He worked his butt off, man. And I remember he's like one of the first Black people I knew had a car, working at Domino's, like, at a young age.
He grinds, man.
Not like he grinds, dog, and he doesn't do it for, for the notoriety, like, like he's motivated, man, to have a better future than he had, for his family than he had. And the last thing I wanted to say in relation to this, your whole story, like, we're really big on adversity, man. Life is gonna bring its challenges.
It's life.
Like, it's gonna bring, but some people don't go through as much, whether it's their parents protected them from it, or they just, maybe they just grew up, in a good situation. But the common theme that I see with your story is the adversity that you dealt with at a young age, and even like growing up, it prepared you to succeed in all the things that you've really pursued, right? And I feel like social media, the way the world is today, everything is made to seem like, oh, you do this, and you're an instant success, right? Like, it's microwavable. And we're really big on preaching this, because it's the real deal. Like, people aren't talking about the adversity. They're talking about, oh, this is what I did, or it's fake, and they're not really going into, what's behind the scenes, right? So
Yeah.
I love that you talked about your adversity, because, like, everyone's gonna have to go through it at some
And
point.
folks, look, listen, you bring up a really good point. I'm big on influencers that say the right things and mean the right things. I think Patrick Bet David, which I think you guys both follow maybe.
Yeah, he's the
He
man.
said nobody ever brags about having a long week or a long month or a long year, right? Everybody brags about having a tough day. What separates the good players, good, and successful people from the greats is that right there, right? It's people, it's not common for you to come out and say, man, I had a tough month. How many times do you hear that? Almost never. People only will have a few, tough days and then, applaud themselves on the back. It's the ability to have that tough year and then, you know, congratulate yourself or, reward yourself with something. Everybody nowadays is, man, I had a tough day, so I can't wait to turn up on Friday. Nah,
Uh,
man, like you really have to. I mean, it's the people that separate themselves and be like, man, like I had a tough month because I grinded the entire month, or I had a tough year. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that that sets the good from the greats apart.
Yeah.
No doubt. And last thing I'll say on this, and this is just for people in general, man. When you know adversity, has hit you in the chest, you should, like, our mindset. It's like, oh, okay, like an opportunity here. You know what I mean? Like an opportunity to. I'm gonna channel this energy, but I'm gonna propel it forward because I know looking back when I get through this, it's gonna make me a better person. And I think a lot of people have to change their mindset and their perspective when stuff happens because it's happening for a reason. Like I know with me, when adversity comes, it's usually because God is telling me, yo, man, like he's kicking me in the butt. Like you gotta lock in. So I encourage people when adversity comes, man, look at it as an opportunity to move yourself forward.
That's big time, man. Last question. All right. I mean, you've had a good trajectory, man, throughout your life, of succeeding at things you put your mind to. Like, what's next for you, right? Like, what are your goals? Whether it's in the next year, 5 years, maybe 20 years. But like, what's next, man? What's that next big thing you're going after?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's just to build my portfolio. I think that, I'm at a point now where I'm not the smallest guy and I'm definitely not the largest guy. But for me and the life that I envision myself having is 25 rental properties, like having tenants in every one, having steady income coming in and potentially getting out of the rat race a lot sooner than the average American. And like I say that very humbly, but at the same time, I'm proud of where I am today, but man, the drive that's in my stomach now is is hotter, greater, whatever you want to call it, more than where I began with, right? And so it's 25 units is my goal. I'm right now beginning to really learn more about investing in beat up properties, right? So you talk about going out and seeing a real deal, and an opportunity to force appreciation on a property, rehab it, and going the route of hard money lenders, right? Being able to get a hard money lender, and the rehab costs from that person, whoever she may be, or it may be a company, getting that money, buying a beat up property, fixing it up, putting a tenant inside, and going back to a smaller bank and getting my money out of it, paying the hard money lender back, and then repeating the process, right? And if I can do that, I become dangerous because the route that I've bought the homes that I have is conventional financing. I go to a big bank, they have their criteria. It's very cookie cutter and it's a very long process. And obviously I'm kind of, talking high level here, but if I'm able to go this route, I can I can do this process and duplicate this process as many times as I want, and I don't have to wait. So I'm very excited about that. And, for me, I had said it on the last podcast, for me to get my sixth unit, it's not a matter of if, it's just when. Every single day as I'm driving to work, I'm thinking about it every single day, and I'm very big on paying yourself first, not just financially, but up here as well, right? You work 40 hours a week, you give your time to your employer. What are you doing when you go home? At the least you can do is pay it back in your mind, right? We all go to the gym, that's great, but what other things are you doing to pay yourself first up here? If that's, going on YouTube and getting lost in just a lot of information that you can find, if it's picking up a book, right? It's those type of things that I'm a big advocate on, paying yourself first. And a lot of people think it's just financially, right? I talk about paying yourself first when you get your first paycheck, but it goes way above that. And I'm big on those things. And, I won't stop until I get to where I need to be.
We got to end right there, man. I mean, mic drop, nothing else to say. I mean, other than me coughing, this was a really good podcast. So sorry, Ashkan, for messing up your episode, but I mean, people who know Ashkan, like, we can talk all day. We'll have him back on another day, but I mean, man, there's so much that anyone can learn from this podcast. If you have your eyes and your ears and your mind open and your heart open to not only take what he's saying, but apply it, right? Like what has helped Ashkan is he's taken knowledge that he's sought out people for and sought out, books, YouTube, all those things. But then he didn't just sit on it. And then what a lot of people do is they tell people about what they're learning to sound smart. No, he's doing it. And then he's saying, hey guys, this has worked for me. Like, here's what, here's how it can work for you. So
last question, Osh. Is the jumper still intact?
Dude, I wish it was, man. I mean, so get this. All my college playing days, all my high school basketball, just my college career, everything that you want to, all my time playing basketball, I couldn't get above 160 pounds. I weighed myself the other day, bruh. I'm at like 176. But like half of that is this dad bod that's forming, bro. So no, unfortunately not, man. I mean,
I'm sure
I go to One Life Fitness and the gym it's not the same. So I'm just out of it, man. But I would love to get back into it. I would love to get back into coaching one day, which I used to do at Tau. But yeah, I mean, the jumper is not wet. Before we get off here, I do want to say I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. I say this all the time. If I can help one person in their journey, if they can get the fire underneath their butt to do something, if it's with real estate or just with their own personal goals, thank you for allowing me to come on here. I know that your following has grown quite a bit. So I truly appreciate you guys having me on and being able to share my story.
No doubt, man. And you're always welcome at the goods, bro, to help, man. I mean, at the very least, I don't know what the right form will be, but I'd love for you to just talk to these kids, man. Like, these kids hearing your story, it's really gonna be powerful. Especially, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, like our middle school group, like they're the perfect audience to hear your story because they still have enough time, to make those leaps. And that's kind of where your like trajectory started to change, right? Like slowly but surely. So yeah, dog, we don't talk on a regular basis, but as far as the basketball side, like we definitely want to find a way to tap in with you and figure out a way to have you kind of add value to that. And if there's anything we can do to help, man,
Yeah.
in any way, let us know, bro. I mean, we're always here.
Thank you for that. No, I mean, I would love to have the opportunity to talk to those kids, but also have a few words with the parents as well, because I think that nowadays it's equally as important, to say the
Man,
least.
what?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this on IG like maybe a month ago. You really gotta train these parents. We gotta train these parents because your experience is actually like unfortunately way too common. And I see it. Like I see with some kids that I train, and and it's not fair to them. So, all right, man. Before I keep coughing and messing up this podcast, episode 87. Please, number one, subscribe. Right, I should have said that in the beginning. Hit the subscribe button on Spotify or Apple, or the website clockinpod.com. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always, clock in. Let's get it.
Get one, Ash. Let me get one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
My
No
man.
doubt, bro. Peace.
Take care.